Hello, and welcome to the SOVPOD, sponsored by Arby's. Still the only place where you can place warm, labial folds of meat to your lips in public and not get arrested.
Mozzarella, pepperoni, mozzarella, pepperoni, and some other stuff. Arby's, we have the meats.
Bradley, it's very fitting that this is the first episode of THESOVPOD because we're going to be watching the first SOV movie I ever saw.
What?
Oh, I'm saying it's very fitting that this is the first episode of our new Shot on Video podcast, but we're going to be watching the first Shot on Video movie I ever saw or I ever heard of. I didn't even, I didn't know what Shot on Video was until, maybe a couple months ago.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, this is a good intro, though.
Well, did you do Severin Sale?
Did I do the Severin Sale? Yes.
Yeah. They had this very, limited edition. It said they only had 100 of them. So it was this Franky and His Pals, and I have to get the thing that no one else can get, right? I just keep it in the plastic, too, to keep it, looking really nice on my shelf. But I had to get this. And then it just turns out that it's this, shot on, what do you call it? Shot on video?
Shot on video, yep.
Yeah, it's just like a shot on. It was pretty cool. But I'm glad that we came up with the idea for this show because this is the first SOV I've ever seen. I'm assuming that it's the first SOV for most anybody that just thought they were getting some gold at the Severin Sale. So I think there's a lot of people now that are going to be asking about this type of movie. I think it's good that we check in with them. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but I'm saying enough words where I can cut out 75% of it and still have
100%.
Okay. Welcome to the inaugural episode of THESOVPOD. The THE stands for the, and I'm Mike D. I'm going to be your host for this podcast, but joining me now forever and always will be my co-host on this venture. And look, I don't mean co as in he is below, because he is not. He is the same. We are peers. And if nothing else, he is probably master number one of the SOV Canali. This is Brad F. Scott Fitzgerald Henderson. How are you, sir?
Yo, 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 yo.
Very, very excited to start this podcast with you. Big fan of yours from your time at the Screamcast, recently folded podcast. But
rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yes. Rest in pieces.
R.I.P.
But in the ashes of the fallen phoenix of the Screamcast, a new pod has risen. So this is the first episode of THESOVPOD. We are being brought to you by Arby's, and that is a relationship that will continue,
till the end of
until
time.
Until the last episode of this show. I don't know. Yeah. Arby's just seems like a match made in heaven. We'll get to what SOV is. We'll get to what Arby's is. But let's get to who you are. Brad, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I am the co-host. Make sure you say co, but I'm not below. Co-host of THESOVPOD podcast. Wait, I shouldn't say podcast. Damn it. Just the soft pod. There you go. That's all I am.
All right.
No more, no less.
Hey, and to identify as such would be such a blessing. And guess what? Hey, I do. All I do nowadays is record the SOVPOD. And being this the first episode, I'm very excited to where this journey will take us. Now, Brad, can you talk to us a bit about what SOV is? It sounds like an acronym. Does it stand for anything in particular?
It means shot on video. People like to joke that it's shit on video, but I don't say that. I think it's just shot on video, and it's glorious. It's a beautiful thing.
Shot on video, yes. And being this the first episode of a shot on video podcast, what else maybe do we need to know? What does being shot on video mean? Does it just mean that it's digital? Does it mean I don't know? How does this affect an aesthetic? How does this affect a narrative? What does this mean?
It means it's shot on tape, VHS tapes.
Oh, it's shot on VHS tape.
Yeah, and there's a common misconception that there's a lot of movies that are shot on video, but they're not. Some are just transferred to 1-inch tape and then edited on 1-inch tape. And it could be shot on 8mm or 16, but it gives it like a shot on video feel, like, Science Crazed, Beyond Dream's Door. Or not Beyond Dream's Door, Beyond the Seventh Door. Beyond Dream's Door is another movie. Or Things, yeah. All those, Night Brings Charlie is another one that's a common misconception. But but I'm sure we'll talk about those films at some point in time, just as kind of a bonus episode of people that, the films that are in the shot on video realm, they share the same aesthetic, but truly, technically they're not, but they look like it.
Okay, and then what about the films where maybe part of them are shot on video, part of them are shot on 8 or 16mm? I'm talking about the last slumber parties. Do you foresee us, since this is the first episode of our show, do you foresee us talking about mixed media shot on video films as well?
Yeah, I could see us talking about the last slumber party. That's one of the only films that I can recollect that is shot on both, mainly because of the different production side and the trouble they had. But eventually.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to this journey. And the reason Brad and I decided to start this journey, not just because Arby's backed up a truckload of money into both of our homes, and because of the deep state conspiracy that canceled Screencast, and we did need to continue our liberal genre propaganda and physical media propaganda out somewhere. So we've taken the info wars here to the SOVPOD and created this for you, the good folks of the world. Well, the English-speaking world. If you speak Cantonese, you can't understand what I'm saying right now because you can't read the subtitles. I think to mix it up, Brad, do you want to do some, I don't know, like, I always love dinner and a movie. Do you like dinner and a movie?
I love dinner and a movie. I remember TBS, dinner and a movie, beans and cornbread.
Beans and cornbread.
How do we come up with the recipes? Well, it's really a very complex, it's almost a scientific process.
Did that one?
I've done Molly Ringwald. I can't be Molly
Hold
Ringwald.
on, we agreed on it. Hey, we agreed on it.
So it's the title of the movie is the setup.
Okay, we got
The title of the dish is the punchline.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Can't go to school. I falafel.
What's that supposed to mean?
Thelma and Louise.
2 hot peppers on the lamb. Honeymoon in Vegas. Elvis's all-you-can-eat buffet.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Basic Instinct.
Stone Cold Killer Cakes.
Roadhouse.
Cracked ribs. With black-eyed peas.
It's really honed to a fine art at this point.
Well, it's beans and cornbread.
Dun, dun, dun.
Beans and cornbread.
Dun, dun, dun. I love dinner and a movie. I think pairing food, kind of like how wine pairs with food. I think pairing food with a film.
So for Franky and His Pals, I think I have the perfect pairing. Bradley Fucklesuck Henderson, I want to bring just a can, sir, one single can of Dinty Moore stew to the party, and a half a bottle of Tapatio picante sauce. Because I think when you combine the two of those together, you will have the perfect meal to enjoy during Franky and His Friends. Maybe treat yourself to a glass of milk as well.
Wow, that sounds very, very tasty.
Well, tasty to be sure. Yes.
I mean, that's a really good pairing. See, it's funny because you said that because obviously I didn't know what you were going to say as far as the food is concerned. I had a canned item too. I had a canned item too. I was going to pick Bush's Best Grillin' Beans, the honey chipotle flavor.
Ooh.
And just eat that straight
Roll
up.
that beautiful bean footage. Isn't that the one? Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
talking dog.
Yeah, had the talking dog too.
Yeah. Roll that beautiful bean. Because they hit the R. Because dogs growl. So like when the dog talks, Brad, the dog goes, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Did you just figure that out by saying it?
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Yeah. That's good. Maybe that's part of the 75% of the 100% you can take out.
So let's jump into the movie. Let's jump into our first episode. Franky and His Pals. Some say 1990, some say 1991, but everyone says that it is produced and directed by Gerald Cromier.
Hi, I'm Little Jane. Are you Big Tarzan?
No, I'm Big Franky.
You're not kidding.
Hi, fellas.
Damn, honey. Am I that good?
Ride me, cowboy! Ride me, cowboy!
And don't get me wrong, none of us thought we were movie stars, but in our heads, in our dreams, for that 2 weeks, we were treated like we were, and we were making a movie. That's close enough.
I don't think about how great the movie was or how bad the movie was or anything. I think of the opportunity that it gave to all of these people.
There was rumors about the hotel being haunted, and there were some strange things that took place late at night when we were filming.
I was complaining about how hard it was to be a musician. And I thought, no, this is one step better than being an actor.
I'll see you at the beach. Yeah, the radio's playing till the sun goes away.
What the hell was that?
Brad, do you have a great synopsis for us, or do we just kind of say Rick and Morty, Dr. Knockoff loves titties, Frank farts his way out of a cave, and the monsters go try to get some poontang or dictang and get treasure?
Being this is a very academic show, it's
actually code switch. Sorry.
It's actually Gerald Comier.
What?
Yeah, I know. The director of Terror Circus.
He's not the director of Terror Circus. Didn't Alan Rudolph direct Terror Circus?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think he worked with Alan Rudolph early on. Yeah, because that was also Barn of the Naked Dead. Yeah, on Code Red.
Oh, maybe he wrote it then. Maybe I'm thinking he wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote it or produced it or something. But yeah, I always thought it was weird that Alan Rudolph's career gets started with Barn of the Naked Dead. Of all things. Of course,
I'm glad this is an academic podcast and I knew what I was talking about. So thank you for that save. Just make sure you edit that 75% out.
Yeah, man. No, man, we could do an Alan Rudolph retrospective. Turn this into pure cinema. This is my Elric Kane. I'm British. He's not British. All right, let's keep going.
Oh no, I don't really have anything else to say.
Oh, you just wanted to correct. You just wanted to mansplain.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. No, I kind of figured that's fitting with the white guy and the beard.
Yeah. Oh no, I just crossed off at least one instance of mansplaining from my podcast bingo card. So no, it's good. Yeah, great. Premier. Fine. Does that make you happy? Because it does take place in the French Gulch, so we might as well pronounce French names and French words appropriately. You know, they're not calling them freedom fries at this point in history yet. So we should give the French the respect they deserve for loaning us the Statue of Liberty until Donald Trump just tore it down. But digress. So it's made by Gerald Cremier. Cremier, Brad. Cremier, you say? Cremier.
Yeah. Franky and His Pals, and then it just got put out in their town. That's pretty much it. It didn't really go further than that.
Yeah, but
at all. Yeah.
Well, I would argue though that for a shot-on-video feature, this film does go a bit further in the production department, or at least in the illusion of a production department. This movie has crane shots. It has dolly shots. It has smart camera placement, movement. There's clearly blocking done. So I mean, you could tell it's made by a competent filmmaker that is working with what he understands his resources to be like a quote unquote regular film. But
I think interesting.
It's all offset by this aesthetic, right? This shot on video aesthetic where you're like, the camera shouldn't be moving this way. And I think that's what a lot of folks, when they respond negatively to this or any of the bigger SOV productions, that's what they're responding.
What I think is even more interesting, since you brought it up, is that you said in the beginning this is your first SOV movie, but then about the camera work.
Severin basically tricked me into buying it because they made it sound exclusive. They made it sound so so I was like, I have to have that because I saw this other. Okay, so the Tommy Doyle 1985781_72. He said that there were only 100 of them. And then that was retweeted by Antebellum Thorn. And then she was like, well, no, I heard that, they're actually going to have this beyond the sale, that you can't just get it today. And then by the time I saw fake Rob Hunter retweeting, the Dawn of the Discs, I knew I just had to buy this movie no matter what the fuck it was. And if I couldn't get it, I was going to be very sad, but I'm glad I got it. And then I knew that since I had it, I was better than everybody else. I was better than them. Like I had achieved human excellence in owning this thing. So I knew I had to make a podcast about it. Yeah. Yeah, but it's my first SOV. I got it about a month ago.
Oh, I'm glad you explained all of that. Thank you.
Do you remember that episode of the Screencast where you got really high in the basement and just talked about Once Upon a Time in New England?
No, mainly because I live in Florida, so there are no basements.
Okay.
So that would be impossible.
Your liberal shelter, wherever you go to get away from the libs.
Florida sucks.
I'm so sorry, dude. Every fucking day in international news, there is nowadays. There's always a Florida story. You're like, oh my. Yeah, I'm embarrassed to know you too.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're getting off topic. I described the movie about 15 minutes ago, Brad. Would you say that that's a fair assessment? That there's a horny Rick and Morty type doctor that and then Frankenstein farts.
Yeah, I think I think I could actually sum it up a little bit better.
Oh, okay.
All right, so here we go. This is a cute little story. I'd like to say it's about 5 monsters. One is gay, but don't worry, it's not scary in any way. It's just Frankie and his buddies having fun. See, don't they use drugs and they don't use guns. They woke up in a cave that was dirty and cold. They want to get out so they can find some gold. So the boys started walking, came to a town. It's called French Gulch. There were lots of folks around. All the monsters looked great, and they were having a blast. I guess after all those years, they forgot about the past.
Oh.
No. Well, I'd like to tell you more about what has been seen, but they all took off in a time machine. For sure, this movie has no equal. I can't wait to see the sequel.
Word.
That's pretty much the plot of the movie. I just gave it all away.
Wow.
Now you don't even have to watch Frankie and His Pals now.
You don't, but you do have to listen to the rest of this podcast because Brad and I are determined to just talk. And also, now that Shockwaves is gone, what? Sorry, I can't. What horror podcast are you going to listen to without Screamcast and Shockwaves?
Anything but this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but Brad.
Yeah.
Brad. Oh. Can you wrap it now for real?
No, I give up.
You read it like Mr. Belding in Saved by Mr. Belding doing a cool principal rap lyric. You're like, here I am, just wanna say, hope you have a Bayside day. You got to do it more with you got to spit your bars, right? Spit your bars. That's what they say. Spit bars. Spit them.
I think I kind of matched the tone of the movie.
Oh, you're saying it kind of has this out of touch, dopey humor to it.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a kid's film, but it's also not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What makes it like a kid's film in your estimation?
Well, first off, the kind of the opening with the sets, other than the talking penis off the mummy, there's very much kind of a kids show aspect, and just kind of how all the characters act, the flatulence that happens, but then there is this kind of horniness from the humper. It's also progressive in a way. I mean, Wolfie is gay. So that's kind of Mr. Rogers-esque, I guess you could say. There's obviously a joke with Frankie's ding dong.
This also this postdates Shane Black's Wolfman's Got Nards, but this predates the gay dog controversy on South Park later in the 90s. So yeah, Wolfie might be our first gay dog icon.
Yeah, I don't think this predates Monster Squad. But you may.
I said it postdates.
Oh, I thought you said predates, and I was like, you can edit that 75% out too.
Yeah.
Can you just edit out 75% of the show?
Yeah. No, I always do. I always do. You're from Florida. Do you know what comes out of your mouth? Of course I edit out 75% of the show. All right, keep going, Brad.
Oh no, that's pretty much all I had to say. Plus, I mean, we're given a plot where they're trying to find gold, but then they end up singing and dancing, and it becomes a party for the last hour of the movie.
Right, but isn't that more? Wouldn't you say that that's more of a rumination on colonialism and how when we had, maybe it's this alternate history that these monsters could have taken us through colonialism. We look at our founders, to this day, we look at them as heroes when in fact they were monsters. And I think here, Cormier presents us with monsters that are on a quest, that are, respected and looked at too as monsters and are perhaps feared, but they themselves would have been much better as the leaders of man around. But they give up their exploits for the treasure, the gold, right? We're talking about Columbus and his destruction of the Taino people in favor of their riches and taking them as property. But in this film, Cormier presents us with the monsters as they say, no, we will not have these pursuits anymore. These are not pursuits of who we shall be as a culture. We will take to education, we'll take to art, we'll take to dance, we'll take to song. And here, Cormier shows us that his monsters could have led us to a better world in this alternate history where they discovered a new world. Yeah, what do you think, though? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There is a lot of titties in this movie, though. Brad, are you okay?
Yes. I thought you were going into another bit.
No. You have to remember, this is all disjointed, and then I just cut out all this shit later, and I find a different edit. But what else should we talk about?
We can talk about the movie. I mean, we can do that.
Yes, yeah, we could. Do you want to talk about the movie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry this isn't fucking Mark Kermode's show, Brad. Okay, look, I thought you told me, hey man, yeah, I'll come back into the podcast world. I'm up. You were like listening to Third Eye Blind's Jumper a lot. You were like, you were just ready to go, man. And then I was like, no, we got to just keep this like show fun. And you're like, yes, fun will bring me back to life. And then here you are, just trying to suck the fun out of it by making it so academic. I'm just trying to have a good time, dude. Just whatever. Go on.
So, this movie was made in California by basically just a bunch of friends. And, it doesn't really have much direction. It really is just kind of a party movie, literally, because they party in the film all the time. It just has, random things that happen. It's even said that there wasn't really a script for this film. They just kind of went along with what they were supposed to do, or given direction like right before. And you can kind of tell it is very disjointed. None of it really makes sense. They wake up in this cave, these five monsters, and then they search for, they want to find the gold that's in the town of French Gulch. So they go, and within minutes of getting into the town, they're given hotel rooms, and then they go to a party, basically. And the party lasts all night, and it's a Halloween party. So no one really looks at them thinking that they're out of place. They just think it's a bunch of people in costumes. So it has that kind of very traditional trope that's used quite a bit in horror films, and when killers show up, or even in Halloween. It's very standard in that sense. It is very silly, but it does have this kind of harmless, cute factor to it. Even though the production side of a lot of people in the film or behind it, they made kind of, weird and more exploitation and a lot of softcore, I think, at the time. So this was very much, it's like that, but as a kid's movie, but with a couple adult jokes. Even though the mummy has a talking penis, but it's like out of his belly button. That's kind of funny. Frankie talks about how big his junk is. There's, like I already mentioned, there's a gay wolf man. So there's just a lot of things in the film that are fresh and new at this given time, but it's just one of these things that, you know, they made the film. It was the production behind it, as you said earlier, was very good. I mean, they had dollies, they had cranes, even though it's this VHS camcorder, they really took a sense of making like a movie, quote unquote. Even in the interviews with the actors, it did feel like a movie set. They had plenty of people on the set. But honestly, it's from what the actors have said. And I mean, I think you can even get the vibe in the opening credits of this film where it's just very jokey. I think this is one of the very first films that probably did that kind of jokes around in the credits, like very much. I think if people remember Deadpool, kind of how the credits were a little funky in that, you know, this movie's made by a lot of people, you know, that type of thing. And that's kind of what Franky and His Pal does, but all through the credits of, you know, joking who everybody is, you know, the important cast, the second most important cast, that type of thing. You get a vibe that it is fun and goofy. And this is surprising that because of the production, I guess you could say, value behind the film, and it having filmmakers that come from a background of many years making films and know the business, that this movie never really made it. It didn't make it out of its town that it was really filmed in, which I think was Redding, California, if I'm not mistaken. But even so, around that area, like this got basically self-distribution in video stores in that area. And that's it. And it's very bizarre because we have so many shot on video films that are made with friends and kids, and they're widely known in that community. You know, stuff like Todd Sheets was making when he was younger, and all that kind of crossed over to somewhat mainstream in the sense of video stores and bigger distribution. It's very weird that this film didn't do. I guess maybe they were between the investors and the director, maybe they weren't too happy with the product and maybe wanted more, because that sometimes happens with filmmakers. You know, every filmmaker should believe what they make it. You know, when you put forth a concept and you take that concept and you put it to paper, and then you find funding and you find people that believe in your product, and you hire a cast and crew, you truly believe you're making a wonderful piece of art. I think most people have that. And I think when people put their trust in you and you believe in this project and you complete it, and then you watch it, and then you maybe you don't really, you're like, oh shit, like this isn't very good. And from the sound of it, with the production value, they spent a good amount of money on this movie. And I think in this world, especially with films in the shot on video realm, video stores or video distribution they were paying good money for this. I remember talking to the director of Copperhead, shot on video movie, and they sold the rights to a distribution company for $100,000 in the 80s. I mean, you're lucky for a good independent movie to even get close to that these days. So it was a crazy world, because at that time, distribution companies could spend $100,000 on a $20,000 feature that was made shot on video, and the return would be very, very big from the video stores. So maybe my guess
that would be like the I'm sure we'll look at it in the future, but the movie Spine, that would be a good example. Is one made directly for market for very cheap that got a big front end for it.
I'm glad you brought up spine. We should talk about that. Yeah, I think maybe, and I don't know this, I think they probably wanted more. And being that this would be considered lower tier because it's not really horror. And it's not, there really wasn't any shot on video kids movies. It was rated R, but for the most part, there really not any marketing to this. Nowadays,
wait a minute. Quick impression. Bush's Baked Beans Dog saying that the movie's rated R.
Yeah, that's good. So I think a big portion of that was that when they took this to distributors, it wasn't marketable. It didn't have blood. It didn't have gore. There were no horror elements. So it wasn't going to sit on the horror shelf. And if it did, people would be disappointed. So I think they really kind of fucked up making it kind of like a kid's movie because there isn't anything behind it as far as why a distributor would pick it up. And I think that hurt it, and they probably had low offers, very low offers, and they said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. Very much kind of like how independent people do it today, because there really isn't that big of money. If you make a film in your hometown and you spend $10,000, $20,000 on it, your return isn't going to be A24 coming along and picking it up for $1 million. You're going to get a very small sub-label to probably help you do it. You're not going to get any money up front, and they're going to split it down probably 60-40. That's how distribution works these days. And I think that they figured that they could make more money by producing, and Shasta Motion Pictures was the company that they created, because I believe that's where he was from, was Shasta, California, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. And they put it in the video stores, so they probably went around and they sold tapes to probably the people in the town, because the film had good promotion within the town they were filming. So to their eyes and to the people in the production, they were making this big Hollywood movie. And you had filmmakers from the 70s making this movie. So I think there was a lot of trust that went into them making this. And, it's kind of a sad story that the film just basically disappeared. And it was doomed. I honestly, in a way, it was doomed from the beginning because of the content that's in it. Nowadays, I think this would do fairly well because it's weird, it's quirky, and obviously it did well because, jumping back to the Severin sale, Severin finds this movie that was incredibly hard to find. I saw it maybe about 20 years ago from a video trade that I was doing with a friend. And he told me about it, and I was like, I've never even heard of this. Obviously, there was no information about it at all online. And I watched it, and I was like, man, this is really weird and goofy. And I didn't think much of it at the time. And then when I heard, Severin was releasing it, I was like, holy shit, I have that movie. And that's really a weird one to choose. But then looking at it, I was like, oh my God, this really wasn't. I don't even think it had an IMDb page at the time until recently. And
well, yeah, not only that, it still doesn't have an IMDb page updated. Only one cast member is listed, and then they got Gerald Crumier.
Yeah, so it's kind of this unheard of movie. And I mean, bless Severin for putting together features for this and putting it out. But, I remember I tweeted about it because I was like, holy shit, Franky and His Pals. Maybe I thought that people was mistaking it for Undertaker and His Pals or something like that. But I tweet about it, and then I'm hearing Severin, and they're like, this is limited. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense because it's shot on video movie. These things don't sell well historically for the most part for a lot of companies. Severin It has the Intervision label, and they've done, you know, Sledgehammer, which we'll probably talk about on the show, and stuff like that. And so when they announce it and then the sale goes live, it sells out almost immediately. And I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. It really must be 100 that they've done, because this is insane. And then, you know, I guess they have 1,000 hand printed numbered copies, and then 1,000 normal copies, I guess you could say. But for 2,000, is that what it was?
How the limited edition, you know, it has like, you know, David's like handwriting on it, just saying like 78 or whatever. But,
yeah, I mean, that's cool that they do that. But I was like, you know, I remember logging in, and of course, Severin had a fucking hell of a time with their sale, and being, that's the crazy part, that being that they had such a disaster multiple times with their sale, and they were having people email them what their order was, a complete clusterfuck. I was like, all right, so maybe they just cut it out. Like they didn't, like they were just like, okay, well, just email us and then we'll get it out. This shit really fucking sold out. I'm still don't believe it, but I was like, did Severin just sell 2,000 fucking copies of Franky and His Pals, a shot on video movie? One, are people tricked because they're thinking that this is some like lost like video, like, you know, actual film, not like a shot on video film that's made by a bunch of.
To my bit earlier though about just how they just started spinning each other out over that language around the limited edition or the.
Yeah, but it makes sense because you know, not too long ago, I caught wind that SRS Cinema was releasing Garden Tool Massacre. And if people know, that was a fictitious movie in Monster. It was the Monster Squad, right? That did it, or no, that was Groundhog Day. Wait, what movie was Garden Tool Massacre? The Blob, right? What was the one in Monster Squad?
I don't fucking know.
Was it Groundhog Day, like 16 or something, or 8? But anyways, I can't remember. But so the Blob had this fictitious movie, Garden Tool Massacre. So people thought it was like a joke for that. I'm like, no, this is actually a lost shot on video movie. This guy made a few in his hometown. And, you know, it was just limited to 100, I think, or 150.
No, 100.
Okay, 100. And so, like, my tweet, like, took off, and Ron Bonk messaged me, and he said, hey, he's like, that thing that you did with the tweet, like, blew up, and I sold out already. So he printed up another 100. You know, that was the deal. And then he sold that immediately. And I'm like, wait a second, like, what's going on, like, with these shot on video movies now? I mean, yeah, I talk about them, but obviously it's just not me that's making these things sell. I don't think that, but it's just, it's really great that people are actually giving this shit a chance, because shot on video movies have been overlooked for many, 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 many years, and they still are. It's not like this is some revolution. There's thousands of shot on video movies. Some of them have never, ever seen the light of day. Others, like Franky and His Pals, have been lost and been traded amongst really hardcore fans. And then you have the more popular ones. You got the Rona. So, like, are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Oh my god.
All right, so we'll start that over.
Yes,
so you have you know, thousands of shot on video films, you know, a lot of which are never actually seen because they were never distributed properly or by a company. That was mainly friends putting them in video stores. And then you have stuff like Franky and His Pals that had a company made up, or, you know, they sold it to companies within the town or local video stores. And then you have the wider ones that actually had decent distribution, kind of like, you know, Sledgehammer, Copperhead, The Last Slumber Party, that kind of gained some traction through the years. And they did fairly well on video. And these filmmakers made a shit ton of money. That's the thing is and it was typically just a bunch of friends making a movie, and they made a ton of money off the film because distribution the video store boom was insane. So people were purchasing stuff like Blood Lake and things like that for, $50,000, $100,000, or maybe even more, depending on the company that picked it up. Releases it on video. It does fairly well. It has 100,000 copies mass produced. 50,000 copies survive from being thrown away, or the video store is going out of business and just putting stuff in the dumpster because DVD is taking over. So you have like 50,000 copies survive, 25,000 copies survive through the years. And those obviously deteriorate over time. So you have this small collection left, but the films live on. People know what they are. They're, pirated, they're tape traded. So you have these movies that have this longevity because of that. So it's all over the place, but it's still really nice that people are taking notice to these movies. They're really movies. They're fun. They're just very low production value. A lot of non-actors and shit like that. So, but anyways, it's kind of nice that people are taking interest in this stuff, whether it's calling it limited and they're afraid that they can't get it later. If that's what it takes to get people to actually give shot on video movies a chance, then so fucking be it. If that's what that's what they have to do.
Hell yeah, shot on video, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Say it too, Brad. Say shot on video, motherfuckers.
I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, no, I'm really thankful that people are giving this stuff a chance. It's just Franky and His Pals is probably not the best intro to shot on video films, but I think it's still very cool. This is definitely, even though it's higher production value for the film, and it's quote unquote well made in that sense of using the camera, knowing what they're doing. It's still really goofy and disjointed on screen, but from a technical side, it's very well done. But there are better and more fun shot on video movies that have lower production value, have non-actors, and they're very, very much more enjoyable. But I'm not shitting on Franky and His Pals at all. I think it is a very fun movie, but it is more, unfortunately, on the boring side, because, like I said, but boring also kind of equates to, in a way, fun and understanding that these guys, everybody in the film, all these people that are in the film and behind the film, we're actually having a good time. So you still get that camaraderie that you do with these homegrown kind of horror films, is that, like the Polonia brothers were making and stuff like that. So when they're making these, it kind of emulates on screen that they are, it's kind of oozing off the screen that this is very friends making movies together. And you get that with Franky and His Pals. Obviously, these people are having a good time. There's even a really good little short interview with the band that plays in the film, and they also did the soundtrack to the movie as well. That everybody has very, very fond memories of this movie and making it, and that makes it a lot more charming. Honestly, if you have the DVD and you haven't watched the movie yet, watch the interviews first and then watch the movie. It will change it for you a little bit. You'll
yeah.
I think
there's a lot of fun through lines in the interviews where a story that an actor tells, how it kind of has a thread of it that goes through, like, say, the interviews with camera and makeup, and then you hear. I really like the interviews as well. And while we're talking about special features, though, Bradley, now is a good time to mention to folks. We've never mentioned this on the show before because it's our first episode. It's episode 1, Franky and His Pals, my first SOV and probably yours. But we've never mentioned that Intervision has the best subtitles if you do the closed captioning.
Yeah, even if you can hear very plainly what people are saying. And the thing is, the cool thing why Intervision does this with subtitles for these shot on video films is that if this is your first shot on video film or your 20th, or you will know that being that it's shot on tape, if you remember your old family tapes, there's a humming from the actual mechanical parts of video cameras. So there's a humming or a hiss that you'll hear, or this weird like dog whistle tone. Not saying you're a dog, but it will have that kind of frequency, that high-pitched frequency. So Severin does a really cool thing, and plus audio is very low because a lot of people, when they made these films, not so much Franky and His Pals, because the audio is actually fairly decent in this because they probably had a boom mic. A lot of people used internal mics on the cameras in those days. I mean, a lot of cameras still have internal mics, but there was actually decent mics. There was like a microphone with like an actual microphone on the front of a lot of VHS cameras.
Yeah, we're talking about the VHS cameras that your pervy uncle used to have. You know.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was the jack to put the microphone in, but typically a lot of these people, they just use the internal mic because they were really, really good. These VHS cameras, they're very expensive back in the 80s.
Internal mic was my nickname in high school, too. So
oh, wow, that's pretty cool. You should save that for the show. What Mike was saying is that the Intervision puts these subtitles in, which is really cool because sometimes if you turn up the movie too high, you'll hear this hiss. So they put the subtitles on, and I always suggest to watch the subtitles because Intervision subtitles are fucking hilarious. They do have a good time making those for sure. I actually didn't watch the subtitles on this one, so if you did, please tell me what was said.
It wasn't as. I hope we do an episode on Dark Harvest because that one has the best of the subtitles. This one not as great. Oh no, Dark Harvest and what is it called? Death by Love.
Death by Love. Yeah.
Death by Love. Yeah. That one has great subtitles. But no, this one's more low key because I mean, like you said, the audio is just inherently better, and I do think that I did hear reference to ADR sessions, so there was some post on sound at least.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's what I said. It's the production value behind this is very high for shot on video films, and they probably did spend a lot of money on this, which is kind of cool. It doesn't really show though because the production value in front of the film is very low. Right. And it is weird that you to come from a background of film like these filmmakers and making something shot on video when you've never done, as far as I know, they've never done. They could have a lost movie or multiple. Making something shot on video at this time in your career is very odd. It's funny because you had kind of the same thing with John Wintergate with Boarding House, is that he obviously had the money to shoot on film. I mean, they had the VHS blown up to 35 to project into theaters, and they did that. So he obviously had the money, but he got that idea because George Lucas was looking into shooting on video, and they thought that was going to be the future, which is the most bizarre thing I've heard ever with between film and tape. Like, tape is inherently bad. It was just good because you were able to give somebody a tape to record family videos or something that they've seen, and it already be transferred. Then you could pull it out and watch. It didn't have to be, no, there wasn't a digitizing at that point, but there wasn't any processing. Like, that's where the money kind of came from, is that you would have to process this film. You'd have to cut the film. You'd have to do all this other shit in order to actually, and then you would still have the film. Like, that's it. Like, then you would have to get a projector, and then you'd have to get reels, and you'd have to do that, and you have to properly clean it. You have to properly store it, or it goes bad. VHS was a great thing because I just probably explained it. I just explained myself why they probably thought this was the future because I never thought about that. It is cheaper. It's inherently cheaper.
Yeah, it's inherently cheaper. I mean, it was in every home, after like 4 or 5 Christmases from the introduction of VCR, right? I think that's what they said in that movie. They gave you special rewind this. That's what they say. They say it took, yeah. So yeah, I mean, just the technology and the consumer.
Yeah, I mean that's where a lot of the budget went to, is that you have this budget for the movie. Why not just shoot it on video, and then you have a master tape, and then you copy that, and then you copy the copy multiple times, just like how you would an internegative for film, and that way you don't have to do all this processing. Shipping is very, very small because you don't have 4 to 6 reels of the film, so shipping is obviously very low. It's easy to transport. It's easy to box. I mean, it really is revolutionary. But the thing is that I think what people started to know is like, oh man, this fucking looks like shit. And it deteriorates over time. You can especially tell kind of like in Franky and His Pals, because with what you're watching on screen, and then in the special features with the interviews, you actually see high res scans of like, the makeup. And the guy did a good job for the most part on the makeup, but you can't tell anything watching the movie. It just looks like, I don't even know what it looks like. It doesn't even look like they have makeup on half the time. But in the high res,
like yogurt on their face.
Yeah, it is like, you probably think, oh man, the special effects are really bad in this movie, but they're actually not. It's actually really good. It's just that you don't see. I mean, it's good for that production, but you just don't see it, especially Humper. Like, there's like some behind the scenes shots of Humper, who's actually the guy that did the special effects for the movie. They look really, really great. Who, again, you mentioned Death by Love. That's a bonus feature on Dreamstalker, which we should talk about too, is that the special effects guy in this did the special effects for Dreamstalker. And Dreamstalker has really good special effects. So this guy obviously knows what he's doing. And it shows. I think the only one that looks bad is the Wolfman. But he actually created that mask he goes into detail about it on the interview of why he did what he did. And it kind of makes perfect sense because he's able to move his mouth around and stuff like that. And speaking of Wolfman and the special effects, is that apparently that song that he sings is made up on the fly.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
I heard that in the interview with Clover. Yeah,
I was like, his love interest, gay love interest, because that's the gay character in the film. Even though there's a little bit,
boyfriend Brad, it's his gay boyfriend. Okay, you have to picture him being gay with him. He's his gay boyfriend, Brad. Gay.
So, but isn't there hints that the mummy's gay too, or is that something am I just thinking too much into it?
Honey, you're gonna realize everyone's a little gay. All right.
Well, yeah, of course, everybody's a little gay. We all know that.
Spectrum. It's a spectrum, sweetie. It goes all the way from it's a spectrum, sweetheart. It goes from Jaleel White all the way up to Big Daddy Black.
That's a weird thing. But anyways, yeah, the song that the Wolfman sings is made up on the fly, which is actually really cool. And I will say, like, the music in the movie by this band, who I cannot remember the name, which I don't think they had one. Is that what it was? Was that the joke in the interview? But anyways, the music's actually decent for the movie, and the best song is used in the credits because it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of things very positive going for this movie. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit more on the boring side. But like I said, the boring kind of equals fun in this sense, because it does have a childlike quality with some adult elements.
They should have waited for your critical endorsement with it's on the boring side, but boring equals fun.
I think it does. I stand by that, because I
know what you mean.
I'm a very avid shot on video watcher, so it's you come into a lot of films that are boring and slow pace, and the production value is really bad, and it's just comes out to be a bad movie. Right. You can have a boring movie, but there's a lot of factors that make it enjoyable.
I'm sure we'll get to at least talking about it at some point, but there's the bad production values and but then some of these movies are just overtly offensive, like Hell Roller, right? Would be an example of that.
Or I'll give one to you that we need to talk about on the film or on this show or whatever we're doing. It was a retitled Jabber, but its original title was L.A.H. Jabber. And it was about a guy that would go around stabbing people with an AIDS needle.
Wait, say it again. Hold on. I won't laugh this time. Sorry.
I'm not going to say it again, but it was just that, they had it was originally released as L.A.H. Jabber. That's crazy, right? I mean, incredibly, and especially at the height of when it was released, with with AIDS going on. I mean, they were.
It started the AIDS stabbing craze, bro, of the early 90s.
Dude, it's so crazy. I mean, obviously it was retitled Jabber down the line, but I was like, fuck, you do have, that's the thing, is that when you do shot on video films, because you didn't have producers telling you what you can and cannot do, you really did have people push the limits with gore, subject material and stuff like that.
AIDS jabbing.
Yeah, if you're producing the movie yourself and making it, and you hire people, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and that's what people did. And like I said, mentioned Hell Roller too. Hell Roller is an incredibly boring movie, but like the content that's in there, or even something which I think it's known as another. This is shot on video, but it's actually I think shot on like 8mm 16. Is the Nostril Picker, which is a really gross and disturbing movie. But I think it's essentially shot on film, but it's known as a shot on video movie. But it's very heavy in the sense of its content, and it's very mean. So you do kind of have a more artistic, if that's what you want to call it, freedom. Some people use that, some people abuse it. But some of these movies are very, very offensive. Even more so with today's standards, but even then it was like, fuck, man, what the fuck are you doing? And that continued though. Independent film continued through that.
AIDS jabbing. I'm just going out with my mate doing some AIDS jabbing. Fucking down, Dad. Dad.
You had what's his name? Gary Whistlin, who has made probably over 100 shot on video films, but most of them are about strangulation, like where people would just strangle women or something like that. And you had that, which, you know, essentially was how Tina Kraus got her start. You know, she has a shot on video movie that is put out by AGFA called Limbo at this point. But that's how Tina Kraus got her career, was through Gary Whiston making Wave movies. I'm not sure if, we need to talk about Wave at some point. Need to talk about Wave at some point on the show. If you don't know what Wave is, Wave actually, I think, still exists, and it's headed by Gary Whiston. Whiston, I can always forget his last name. But Wave was a thing where you could write up a script yourself, send it with money to a filmmaker, and then they would make your movie. It was very, very low budget, shot on video stuff. But you had
jabbing.
Yeah, I know that there's a documentary coming out about Wave, which is a very fun and kind of unique thing that happened. But again, there's so many movies that are made that are never ever seen through that. You know, because I mean, yes, it's just people picking up a camera and goofing off, but you know. It's just it's crazy, and then you have companies like Intervision and SRS Cinema and Massacre Video trying to keep these films going. I know SRS just released Chloroformed, which was a very lost shot on video movie for a long time. Again, not very good at all. But, you know, just a piece of cinema history, if you want to call it cinema, a piece of movie history that, you know, would disappear if it wasn't for companies like this. And not saying that everything deserves to be treated the same and released and put forth a bunch of money in special.
Oh, I'm sorry. Someone from Florida believes that not everything deserves to be treated the same.
So, but it's nice to have these companies that at least put it out there for you know, because there is time and work that goes into this stuff. Some more than others, some have more heart than others, but it's still a really cool concept. And I'm very, very thankful for companies like Severin / Intervision with, you know, David Gregory over there, who is taking the time and putting forth a lot of money in order to get this stuff together. Because, I mean, those the special features alone, you know, probably cost more to him than the actual distribution for this movie when it was originally released in like 91 at video stores. So it's kind of neat that you have people that take that passion and take a chance on something that's never been seen, especially if it's shot on video.
Very good. I think, Bradley, this might be a good time to transition out of stupid meta jokes that I think are funny on independent podcasts and say we are back, bitches. Bradley, this will appear as episode 1 on the feed, but come on, we're basically mainstays in the now hip SOV community.
Hey, maybe we'll have a bigger following at this point.
Oh, I think so.
Because shot on video is going to be the revolution, and then this next batch of Star Wars movies, George Lucas has he's going to be producing with Kennedy, and they're going to be shot on video. That will never ever happen, but it's kind of funny that was even a thing. So, but anyways, yep.
But
so enjoy Franky and His Pals. I think it's still sold out, but people are still getting their Severin orders. So after everything is probably shipped out, then we'll probably get a final count, because stuff has to be set aside from a distribution point. You know, so there probably will be some copies that pop up here and there off their site. So just pay attention.
There's this funny Letterboxd review, and the Letterboxd review is mostly about the Severin sale. It's like the nerdiest. Anyway, but this guy's like, I was really excited about this because of the Severin sale, but then it was sold out, and like I'm like, good, because this movie sucks now that I saw it.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, that's what I was afraid of, is that people are thinking that they're getting into this, this weird film, but it really is just this weird shot on video film. But yeah, you're going to get shitty quality. It actually does look pretty good, the transfer. Like, this is obviously a master tape that wasn't really used, because there's some big clarity with the picture, and there's not much like tracking lines that pop up. So that's pretty cool. So I'm looking at the Severin Films site right now, and it doesn't look like there's any available. But like I said, orders are still being shipped out. Stuff gets damaged in the process. They have to replace it. Stuff gets lost, especially right now at the post office. So just keep your eyes peeled online with Severin in the next few weeks, because I'm not saying something's going to pop up. Obviously, I don't not work for Severin, but I know how these things work sometimes. I know how these things work all the time, really. But in this situation,
hold on, my white guy podcast bingo card. I
didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that. But these things follow suit as far as how a company operates. So just give them a chance. Let them get everything out. Obviously, they're small, and they had lots of issues. They're going through. I can't believe they went through email after email of people just stay, and that's such a clusterfuck, because the amount of emails that you get on top of that asking where the order is and people bitching about everything, I feel so bad for Severin. Oh my god, that's a fucking nightmare, bro. Oh my god, it's a fucking nightmare.
There's some people that were on Twitter that were like tweeting at Severin that night. It was the funniest shit. They're like, this is inexcusable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bruh, people are dying in the street right now. Could we calm the fuck down about Franky and his friends?
I was so taken back by that, because people are like, well, I'm never buying from Severin again. This isn't a fucking breakfast bar or a piece of, like, this isn't food. Like, you're like, I'm never going to eat at Wendy's again. Well, that's easy, because you just don't go to Wendy's. But you can't say, I'm not going to buy this Fulci movie ever because Severin released it and I don't like Severin's shipping methods. What are you going to never purchase the movie?
Right.
This isn't like you can go get, Enigma somewhere else. This isn't a burger.
That's this word. Stop it, Brad. But so yeah, and then it's like I'm never gonna order from Severin because of the shipping. And then it's like, now you're not supporting the United States Postal Service. Now you're making Trump's argument that the election's going to be rigged if they're in charge of all those mail-in ballots. Now you are bringing down democracy. Will you buy the fucking movie and shut the fuck up, or don't? Just shut the fuck up. Either way.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just give people a fucking chance, man. Severin is literally just a handful of people that's trying to make, a business and trying to bring us movies and doing killer transfers. Yeah, their site fucking fell apart that night. You could easily, they rectified it within just a day or two. You emailed them, you got your shit. I got my shit. I was super happy. It came, and then people are flipping out about that fake for Fulci thing. They just had some issues with the slipcover that will come out too. Just give them a break. Give any company a break that does a sale like this. Like, I mean, I work for Vinegar Syndrome. I know the nightmares that happen. And it's just like, we're not Universal or Paramount or anybody that has a shit ton of money that's able to have this website that doesn't crash. Shit happens, man.
Yeah, calm your speed, Jack.
Just give them a break. Watch Franky and His Pals. Have a good time. watch the other movies, and then purchase the next sale that they have.
Or don't. Like,
don't, because then it's going to go to people that actually care and want to watch the movies.
Yeah. And that said, there's you've mentioned Ron over at SRS a couple times this episode, but he just put up the 2-volume sheets of gore, a lot of rare, Todd Sheets short films he's collected together.
So pay attention to Massacre Video, Intervision, SRS Cinema, Wild Eye, all these. Some Slasher Video. Slasher is not really doing anything anymore, but they have a couple shot on video films. So just pay attention to those labels, because more shot on video stuff is going to come if more shot on video stuff sells. Yeah. And follow this podcast. Follow us on Twitter, because I'll be talking about it, because even if the movie sucks, I'm probably going to still tell you if it's available. So, but I will
probably tell you it's the best.
What is that?
I said, and I'm probably going to tell you it's the best.
Well, yeah, you do like some weird shit. But anyways, that's it. That's all I got.
That is all she wrote.